not put my trust in gold, or said to pure gold, you are my security. I have not celebrated my great wealth, or the riches my hands had gained. I have not thought about worshiping the sun in its brightness, nor admired the moon moving in glory, so that my heart was pulled away from God. My hand has never offered the sun and moon a kiss of worship. If I had, these also would have been sins to be punished, but I would have been unfaithful, because I would have been unfaithful to God.
All right. Had a professor one time, and he made a statement. He said, he was doing a lecture he was talking about, and one of the students, the guy on my left, and I think he was from the Nazarene Church, he raised up his hand, he said, Professor, just listening to you, a person would wonder if you believe in God. And it was a seminary professor. And the professor said, oh my goodness, yeah, I believe in God. There's literally hundreds of them, thousands of them. And I got a little uneasy. Who is this guy? You know, he's supposed to be teaching me about religion and faith and seminary. And so he challenged him. I was about to challenge him, but he challenged him and said, everybody knows there's only one true God. And the professor said, it depends on how you define God. And so we got into a pretty lively discussion. I got into it, several other people got into it. He said, let's define God the way we live our religion. And I still wasn't real easy with it, but he said, let's say, for instance, that God is whatever dictates your activity for the day. And we discussed it a little more, and I got to thinking about it. There's only one real true God, but what do you put your faith in? What do you hang your hat on any given day? My wife and I get into it every once in a while. She has to leave the house at 8 o'clock to get to the hotel on time so that she can put her coat away and punch in and be on time. Okay. We have to leave the house at 8 o'clock in order to get to church on time. Okay.
And let me guess, she's always ready at 8 o'clock to go to work.
To go to work, she gets up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and leaves the house at 20 till 8 or 15 till 8, because you're exactly right, you hit it right on the head. But this morning I woke her up at 7 o'clock, and then I woke her up at 10 after 7, and then I woke her up at 15 after 7. Now, why can she get out the door 15 minutes early to go to work, but she has to leave 15 minutes late every Sunday morning to go to church? And every once in a while I'll look at her and I say, so who is your God? Who do you serve the best? The hotel or the church? We gotta go. Oh, okay. Then I gotta put up with her putting makeup on all the way over here. Yeah. I remember in 1999, on October 19th, the stock market fell 500 points, and people all across this nation were jumping off buildings. It affected me so much, I went out and jumped off the porch. But their God had deserted them. Their God was gone. Their God was their money, their investments, Wall Street, whatever name you want to put on it. And that is the thing that controlled their life. And when it was gone, they had no reason to live. They jumped off buildings. They took sleeping pills. They committed suicide and died. And dozens of people did it. It was all over the news for several days. And that happened on Monday morning, and on Thursday they had regained the 500 points and was on toward a new high. But for those 4 days, they couldn't live because their God had deserted them. What controls your day? Does God or do the things of this world control your day? And that was the point he was trying to make. He was really a very good professor. He would throw out controversial things like that, and we would discuss them for 3 or 4 days. But he had a very valid point, and every once in a while, when somebody's all bent out of shape about something, I'll just remind them, is he your God? Is she your God? Are they your God? Maybe things are going bad with them, but how are things going with God? You know, what is bigger than your God that you allow to control your life? And that's kind of what he's saying here. I'm gonna put my trust in gold. I'm gonna put my trust in that security. A lot of people do. A lot of people, the only thing that gives them peace is what's in their bank account. How their marriage is going, how the business is doing right now. You know, a lot of people are really stressed out right now because the economy's bad and we don't eat out as much as we used to or buy the stuff we used to buy. I think it's great because most of my investments are in Walmart, and Walmart's going gangbusters right now because nobody's got any money. They're going to Walmart, and I made 18% last year.
But Walmart, they're not as cheap as what they're claiming to be now.
No, they're not. No. When their activity rises, they start edging up their prices just like everybody else. But I gotta say, when we were Saturday, I was looking at sausage at Walmart. It was on sale at Kroger for $3.50 a pound, and I saw it at Walmart, and it was $2.85 a pound regular price. It wasn't even on sale. So you got to watch what you buy, and it's especially true at Sam's. Sometimes you go to Sam's and it's higher than you can buy it at the dollar store or anywhere else. Like we buy plates for the church. You got to be careful because a lot of times it's not what it looks to be. They get you in there and they get you caught on a couple items, and then you go ahead and fill up the basket and you didn't save any money in the end. So you're right, you got to watch them. If I regarded the sun in its radiance or the moon moving in splendor, so that my heart is scarcely enticed and my hand offered them a kiss of homage. What's he talking about there?
Worshipping?
Hmm?
Worshipping them?
26, 27.
Worshipping them. Worshipping them.
Yeah, horoscope. Remember, the horoscope and astrology began at the Tower of Babel way before Job. It was around long before Job was. And all that, a lot of people, you know, Satan is always using the things of God. He just twists them enough. He leaves enough of God so that they look righteous and they look holy, but he twists them just enough so that they're perverted. And, you know, God said, I put the stars in there so you'd know the seasons and the times. And so you know when to plant and when to sow and when to harvest. And Satan came along and made Mars the indication of where my life's going to go today. Mars doesn't have anything to do with where my life's going to go today unless I submit myself to it. And then all of a sudden, I start living like it's my God. It's a self-fulfilled prophecy, you know. You listen to it, and then you're obedient to it. And technically, according to that professor, that makes it your God. It's the thing that rules your life and influences your decisions. Okay? Now, there's only one true God. Don't go out of here saying to anybody that I said there wasn't. There were literally thousands of gods, unless you want to define that thing that controls your life today is your God, and then you're serving a false God. Anything else on that? Then these also would be sins to be judged, for I would have been unfaithful to God on high. God above all the rest of these things. Okay? And Job kind of agrees with that professor there, doesn't he? Doesn't he say, I could submit to this, but I haven't, so I have been faithful to the God on high. 29 to 34.
If I have rejoiced at my enemy's misfortune or gloated over the trouble that came to him, I have not allowed my mouth to sin by invoking a curse against his life. If the men of my household have never said, who has not had his fill of Job's meat, but no stranger had to spend the night in the street, for my door was always open to the traveler. If I have concealed my sin as men do, by hiding my guilt in my heart, because I so feared the crowd and so dreaded the contempt of the clans, that I kept silent and would not go outside.
Okay. Job's talking about the three basic relationships that a human being would have throughout his life here. What are they? Three basic relationships.
Enemy.
The first paragraph dealt with what?
Enemy.
Huh?
Is enemy. Enemy.
His enemy? Okay. Yeah, no.
Rejoiced at my-
Yeah. The one we just read, 24 to 28, what relationship did that deal with?
Worldly things. Worldly things. The world, God, your other gods in the world.
Okay, 28. Some today.
28 there. Sins.
Our relationship with God. That's one relationship we deal with as we live our lives. Now he's dealing with a second relationship. 29 through 34 deals with the second relationship that we have.
Man.
Other people, man, yeah. The people around us, people we grow up with, people we work with, the people we die with. So the first relationship is our relationship with God. The second relationship is our relationship with man. What's the third relationship? And that'll be the last section.
Self.
Self. And there are sins against God, sins against man, and sins against self. Okay? But we live on those three planes. And some part of the day we're dealing with our relationship with God. Some part of the day we're dealing with our relationship with others, because we're sitting in a room with other people studying the Bible, we're working, or socializing, or doing whatever we do. Sometimes we're dealing with our customers and trying to get them to pay us. And sometimes our customers are dealing with us and trying to get us to redo it. We went in, we had that relationship this summer, and it's really pretty aggravating.
I have that every day.
You do. She's still calling. I was lucky that she never got my number. She always had to call Josh.
Man, I'm glad that's over.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's over, but I'm glad it slowed down. But you've got this relationship with other people, and here he deals with, if I have rejoiced in my enemy's misfortune or gloated over the trouble that came to him, if I had allowed my mouth to sin by invoking a curse against his life. Now he's talking about his enemies here. We've also got our friends. Later on, he talks about the stranger. Now, this is a different period of time. I can relate to this more than maybe you can. When I was when I was a kid, there was a railroad track about a couple hundred yards from the house, and hobos would jump off those boxcars, and they'd knock on doors to get food. And my mom always felt obligated to feed them. Because back in Job's time and back in Jesus' time, if you were an Israelite, you were traveling, they didn't have motels and hotels and places for you to sleep. And other Israelites were required to give you lodging for a night if you were traveling. They were required to do that. That was just part of society. You didn't let another Israelite or another brother sleep outside. You let him sleep in the stable, or you gave him some place, and you fed him. It was just part of the society. And Job says, I've never failed to do that. He says, I've never turned a stranger away to spend the night in the street, for my door has always been open to the traveler. Okay? Today we've got a homeless problem and people sleeping on the streets everywhere. Some of them it's their own fault, and some of them it's no fault of their own. Things just fell apart for them, and there wasn't anybody there. Whose fault is it that our society is having those kinds of problems? Having welfare problems and having...
It's our government officials' fault.
It's government officials' fault?
But we elect those government
Who
officials.
turned the job over to them?
We
We did. You know, when I was in seminary, we had a whole semester on, and I mean the whole semester, every class during the semester was how to refer people to government programs. You know, back in Job's day, back in Jesus' day, it was the church's obligation to take care of the poor. Now, they took care of the poor by giving them something to do. The Bible said, you don't work, you don't eat. And when the poor would show up to the Plum Street Church, the Spring Valley Christian Church, the first one was a freebie, but the second one you had to work for. And I would tell them, okay, you know, $60 worth of groceries for your kids. Said, if you want us to help you again, I've got a lawn to mow, I got windows to wash, I've got carpet that needs swept. We have odd jobs that need to be due all around this church. You come back.
Didn't come back, did they?
How many of you think came back?
0.
Let's say 100. Let's say we helped 100 people. How many came back? You're exactly right. 0. Not one person ever came back
it's sad.
to mow a yard or to wash a window and to get the second handout.
But you know, the sad part is, you're saying our elected officials, how is it really our fault? Because we could elect who we thought was right, but once they get in there, and if there's, say, 10 that's bad, and we elect 2 good ones in there, well, they're going to overrule them.
I agree. But we keep sending the bad ones back time after time after time after time. When I was a kid, the government had nothing to do with the schools. And there was a school in every township. And then, and the farmers would get together, and there would be 80 acres in that township, and the farmers would get together and they would plant those crops, they would harvest those crops, they would sell those crops, and the money would go to run the school. It was our money, it was our school, they were our kids, we made the decision what was going to be taught. And then we started taking government aid, because the farmers didn't want to fool with those 80 acres anymore, and we turned it over to the government, and now it's, oh, woe is me, what has happened to our schools? Well, we gave up our responsibility, and so we gave up our rights. And now the government tells us that we'll teach sex education.
Sports.
You know, I had to call the school and answer 3 questions before the nurse could give my daughter an aspirin.
They wouldn't even give mine. Logan had to go down and give her one.
You had to go down?
I
But your daughter can get an abortion, and You
Nobody
do
has to
not
tell you.
even have the right to know it.
Mhm.
Now, what has happened?
I had to go down and give Ethan a Tums. Tums.
Tum,
Myself.
tum, tum, tum. That's what-
But-
And the cafeteria.
But Danielle can get pregnant and go to her school counselor and be sent to an abortion clinic and get an abortion, and you may never even know it because they are not allowed to tell you. An aspirin, an abortion? What has happened to this country? It's gonna get worse when yours is. I feel sorry for my grandkids.
I don't see how they're gonna be afford to live.
I will go back to work to put my grandkids in Christian school if that's what it takes. I will get a job and I'll go back to work. Back to work. But we got on the soapbox. We got God, we got others, and he says, I have never, ever, I have always fulfilled my obligation to my fellow man. Now, like we said last week, some people you can't give money, and some people are scam artists, and you gotta let the Holy Spirit guide you. You do not have to say yes every time, but you have to follow the Holy Spirit, and he'll let you know. If you're gonna make a mistake, if you're gonna err on the side of generosity, not on the side of caution, because God will even bless that, even if it is a mistake, because he'll bless your generosity. But sometimes the Holy Spirit is going to say, no, don't do it. And if he does, just walk away with a clean conscience, because there's something going on there that maybe you don't know about, but the Holy Spirit does, and you're not going to do any good. So use your money, be good stewards of your money, and use it where it'll do some good. And the world, and that person will tell you, I thought you were a Christian. You said, I have the Holy Spirit, deal with him. And walk away. Walk away. Because sometimes the right answer is no. And there are preachers that don't want me to say things like this, but it's the truth. It's the truth. The last one. Okay. Read it real quick and we'll be out of this chapter. Oh, that I had someone to hear me. Now notice, almost every verse has I in it. Yeah. So now he's dealing with self. First he deals with God, then he deals with others. Now he's dealing with self. Oh, that I had someone to hear me. I sign now my defense. Let the Almighty question me. Let my accuser put his indictment in writing. Surely I would wear it on my shoulder. I would put it on like a crown. I would give him an account of my every step. You notice how he's dealing with himself here? And he's putting himself on the line. He's saying, I'm innocent, and I welcome you to come and judge me and find fault with me. How often would we want to do that? Too often. I would give him an account of my every step. Like a prince, I would approach him. If my land cries out against me, and its furrows were wet with tears, if I have devoured its yield without payment, or broken the spirit of its tenants, and let briars come up instead of wheat, and weeds instead of barley, if the words of Job are ended. I'm not saying anymore. I have defended myself 6 times now, and I'm done fooling with you guys. My arguments are done. And then this new guy pops up, and we'll get into the new guy, because this new guy is an interesting person.